that, but I can maybe just comment on some other parents and my experiences with the CAC and the SELPA. It's unfortunate that we all have different experiences and that some are poor. My experiences have been good. I have always had good IEPs and a good team, and I know that I'm lucky to have that. But it takes work and collaboration and a level of calmness and the ability to kind of give and take a little bit to get what's best for your child. I was here for the CAC meeting where the transitional life after high school, whatever we're calling it, meeting was postponed, and I did meet with the parents outside who came for that. I didn't meet with a lot of hostility, but more confusion. And when we explained what happened, people were, jovial, and we were kind of outside talking and laughing about it. So I had a different experience than the one that you had. But one's perception is one's reality, I suppose. So I think the SELPA is doing a good job. I think that we have done a couple of surveys where we've asked the 15,000 members of our school districts what they would like information on. And we've taken that information and we've held many great workshops, some that were not hosted by SELPA direct employees, but other people, to give us a lot of information. So I think that transparency, communication, emails that we're receiving is very helpful. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Miss Ana Guanardo. Sorry if I chopped that up.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to talk about assessments. My daughter had a triennial on December, and when I received the assessment on my hands, I found out that it was my daughter's name, yes, but then the rest of it was somebody else's name. So I'm wondering, how do I know that this assessment was done to my daughter? It's frustrating. And there's any way that it could be redone for her again. Because, I don't know if that's my daughter's assessment, And I was here too for the life after high school. I was not let in. I was one of the persons that was not let in. That's all I need to say. Thank you.
Mr. Atwood, I think.
Yeah, okay, it's on. Yeah, I just was looking at the IE policy before. I talked about it at the CAC, and I did want to bring two illegalities to your attention. One of them is where it says that the district assessment has to be discussed in an IEP meeting before the district needs to respond to an IE request. And that's incorrect. The regulation says that you need to respond when the parent disagrees and ask for a publicly funded IE. You're not allowed to add an extra hoop saying, let's talk about it in the IEP meeting first. I never have that problem with the parents that I talk with because everybody knows better than to say that to us. But I'm worried about the parents that hear that nonsense when somebody like me is not around. Nobody ought to be getting lied to about the law that way. So that needs to come out of the IE policy. The other point, I forgot the other thing that I didn't like in the IE policy. I guess I'll drop it.
It is an agenda item, Peter, so you can comment later.
Maybe I will. Well, thanks for the help. Maybe I will. The other thing I do want to mention, I was not here for
Mr.
that.
Atwood, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Our interpreter is asking to hold the mic a little, or maybe. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the other point I want to mention was, I don't know what happened because I wasn't here, but I do have somebody who actually said that she was not allowed to go into the meeting, into the CAC meeting. Apparently then it seems to be, I got a couple of people to tell me that Ben Rich actually thought that he had the right to tell people that they can't come to a public meeting. I don't know who would have told him that. I don't know what kind of mentality makes anybody that belongs to the SELPA say that somebody is not allowed to come to a public meeting. That's absolutely outrageous to forbid people to come to a public meeting. Why does anybody think they can do that? So could you please give attention to this and cause the SELPA staff to understand that the law does apply here. This is not a law-free zone. The open government law does apply.
Ms. Flora Martinez, Life After High School.
Hello. Well, I'm here today to speak on behalf of the Inland Empire Latino Coalition. We submitted application, if you will, because there is no real protocol to be a vendor on the Life After High School event. And we were denied the opportunity to be part of that unfortunate canceled event. So I am here to go ahead and request that you have clear indications of what is needed to be a vendor, a resource fair, in a resource fair. As a nonprofit organization, we do provide our community with resources to transition into adulthood. So the fact that we were denied the opportunity to share that information with parents who are hungry for this knowledge is unfortunate, because as Kumku said earlier, we do need to work collaboratively, even though we agree to disagree. And going back to the previous comments that were made about good experience versus bad, well, I do understand that it does take a certain person to go ahead and be collaborative and, again, agree to disagree. But when you have barriers, culturally or what, you have to be, as a professional, we have to have etiquette and do our job and be effective and do focus on the child and not go into this bickering of who did what, who said what, and all of that. So again, it is focus of the child, but again, you guys are all sitting there respectfully, and so everybody who has that position should hear what the parent has to say. Thank you.
Ms. Martina Ortega.
Good morning. As part of a nonprofit organization, Inland Empire Latino Coalition, I asked to be part of the Resource Fair / Life After High School. Susan referred me to Dan Rich, who later emailed me and excluded the Inland Empire Latino Coalition, claiming that the nonprofit did not meet the criteria, I can't say that word.
Criteria.
Thank you. Of providing direct student transitioning resources. The Inland Empire Latino Coalition gives direct services to students transitioning into higher education. My son is one of those students that benefits from that nonprofit agency. Unlike a congressman representative or Autism Society of America that do not provide direct services to transitioning students, even though their resources are very good, they don't give out direct services, period. Now, Sharon spoke about SELPA mailing out thousands and thousands of surveys to parents. That's funny because I have never received anything from SELPA. I've asked parents that I advocate for, and again, none of the parents receive any surveys from SELPA, so are you, just picking the ones that will give you a good survey? Also, at the last superintendent's council meeting, Weston SELPA did not meet indicator 5 or 6, and even though I asked what is indicator 5 or 6, and now the superintendents asked what those indicators were that SELPA did not meet, I would think that one of you would have asked, and I looked it up. Indicator 5 is the least restrictive environment. The average amount of time that students ages 6 through 22 receive in their special education services in settings apart from non-disabled peers. And I think that's very important. But nobody asked, but I'm giving you that information because Susan didn't give me that information and she didn't want to share. As a matter of fact, we couldn't hear a lot of things that were being said, but nobody bothered to repeat it. Thank you.
And Mrs. Montalvo.
Buenos días. Yo traigo la misma preocupación de la cancelación de información a los padres.
Good morning. Good morning. I have the same concern about the meeting for the parents.
Yo traje mi preocupación a mi distrito, pero se me recomendó que este era el panel importante para sentar cómo se nos da la cancelación sin previo aviso.
I brought this to my district, but I was told that this was the panel to bring it to.
He sido testigo de 3 generaciones de representantes de CIC.
I have been a witness of the representatives for CAC for the last 3 years.
Y esto ha sido repetitivo en cancelar las informaciones a los padres sin previo aviso.
And this has been repetitive in canceling meetings or things without previous knowledge or previous notification.
Yo fui parte del grupo de padres que se le negó la entrada ese día cuando estaba la reunión pública a CAC.
I was one of the parents that was turned away when the CAC meeting was taking place.
Es una falta de respeto que a los padres no se les considere el tiempo que se toman para venir a agarrar informaciones importantes y poder seguir ayudando a nuestros hijos.
It's a lack of respect to turn parents away when they take their time to come here and get the resources that their children need.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Okay, so this will be the end of our comment section. And we're going to go ahead and move on to item C, discussion items. And Jim?
This month, we have 2 fiscal notifications, and they both relate to what is known as our state special schools adjustment reimbursement transfer. Every school year, CDE withholds from districts funding related to students attending state special schools. In turn, the XPOT then reimburses those districts for the amount withheld by CDE. These 2 transfers relate to an adjustment to the prior year, which is notification A. And then notification B is the transfer related to the projected adjustment for the current year, which will be finalized again this time next year. Are there any questions on the fiscal notifications?
Very good, thank you, Jim. Item number 2, we have public comment. Mr. Palmer.
Yes, I've been reviewing this part of the policy. I'm concerned that it no longer includes representatives from a private agency. This is an issue that's been ongoing for several years now. I know I was put forth as a potential representative from 2 different private agencies. I was denied to be on the CAC both times from both separate private agencies that had recommended me to be a part of that. Now I see you've just eliminated and done away with it. You have no interest in really having private agencies unless they're ones that are in your back pocket, such as OPARC. But anyway, which I know several clients that utilize OPARC, and it's very sad, the services that they provide to those adults who are people who didn't receive services as well as they needed as a child and as an adolescent. I'm also concerned that the policy doesn't list all the school districts that are represented here. That's confusing to me. The last CAC that I was at, we had only about 5 school districts represented there. I know there was somebody from Altaloma, Sharon. I know there was somebody from Etowanda, the VP at one of the schools. I know there was somebody from OMSD. I know there was somebody from, I think, Chafee. So I'm just concerned that all of the schools here don't sound like they're represented, and they're not even named all on this policy. So why are we excluding some schools, or am I just confused and I don't know what actually is going on? But I would think every school would want to have a representative, and we would also want to have a representative from private schools that are serviced through this agency, and also private agencies who work with this population and have something to contribute from the community.
No, and then Mr. Hewitt.
I again want to echo the comments that were made by Dave Palmer. He had applied to become a CAC representative, I believe, over 8 or 9 years ago, right?
Not quite that far, but about 4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5. And the process was literally derailed. Susan took steps to make sure that she put as many stumbling blocks in the way as she possibly could so that the item was never heard. And going back to some of the comments that Sharon made about having a positive experience, that's great if you're happy with the services. I mean, different people are going to have different experiences, but that's part of the problem. It seems that the people that are SELPA friendly, that are well liked by the SELPA, are the ones having a good experience. I applied to be a member of the CAC when Upland had no one on the CAC, and this was probably about 15 years ago. And of course, a parent like me would not be on the CAC because SELPA knows that I'm critical of the policies at the SELPA. Because if I were a CAC member, I would take my responsibility seriously and not be a rubber stamp for the SELPA, which is what we have today. And it is deliberate and it is by design that the CAC representatives are being selected by the SELPA indirectly, who's influencing districts and who is handpicking puppets and people that will not question the SELPA. So that really does a disservice to this agency and to the public, because the Ed Code is very specific about the responsibilities of the CAC representatives, and that is just not happening. Thank you.
What we have here is, due to our rotation cycle, the names of the districts whose members are up for being renamed or to replace for the coming 2 years. The remaining districts will be up next year because it's every other year that we rotate, as well as the public agency, because the public agency rep just started last year. It's a 2-year rotation, and your teacher reps, I believe, are also up next year. So it's a rotating cycle, and your members are named for your district policy, and so we look forward to receiving the names of your new members as soon as you determine and have them board approved.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, item number 3, projected mental health distribution model. Tim?
Thank you. Item C3 is our current year projection of mental health. If you want to flip to the first page after the narrative, I can walk you through how the process works. Starting with column C, the third total from the top, $8,071,000. This is our revenue in total from federal and state for mental health funding. What we do to that total is we then subtract off the top expenditures, which in column C is the second to last number, $3,386,000. The bulk of this total comes from about $2.8 million of residential and counseling expenses from non-public schools. The total on column C, $4,684,000, that's the leftover balance, is then distributed to districts by their proportionate share of ADA in columns F, after which we adjust for anyone using the WeSelpa counseling fee for service in column H. And then finally, columns J through M are the small school protection adjustment that this council approved last month, which leaves you with column N. Column N is the most important total. This is the amount that districts will receive from mental health funding. The other thing of note that districts like to know is how much fee-for-service they're paying, which is in column H. Currently, the projected fee-for-service rate is $6,859. Are there any questions on it?